welcome to our Veterans Day special. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of the Jake's Take with Jacob and the host of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast, a pop culture entertainment news website. Before we get started today, if you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up. Now, if you're listening to our audio platform, please download this episode and all the other episodes, and don't forget to leave a 5-star rating. I am honored and thrilled to welcome this guest. I've been waiting for him to come on for a while now, and he's finally here. He's a former Marine. He's also an explorer and model. You might have seen him on Amazing Race 35 with his brother Liam, and right now he is kicking butts in his Challenge 41 Vets versus New Threats with 2 daily wins and 1 elimination win under his belt. Please help me welcome Yeremi Hykel to the podcast.
Let's go. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you so much for having me, man. Love watching your stuff. Love your opinions and hearing everything you got to say. So I'm excited to chat with you today, man, and share my experience with you.
I'm so happy to have you here, Yeremi. You've been on Team Jacob's through New Threats, and along with Justin, along with our good friend Ben the Bane Davis and Cedric, plus D and Lecca and Sydney.
Let's go. It's a good lineup right there, dude.
I know. You almost were dominant, and you guys have been dominating the game. And I got to say I came in during Final Reckoning, so Paulie and Davon's season.
Okay.
So the rookie class of War of the Worlds 1 had a lot to live up to, and they did. But however, your rookie class right now is kicking butt and taking names.
Yes, it is, dude. It really is, and it's it's a breath of fresh air to kind of hear that that our rookie class is really standing up to a lot of past rookie classes that have really shown out in this competition. It's not an easy competition by any means, and it requires a lot of diversity in your skill set for every rookie or new threat that comes in. So it's just really nice to hear the fan base, and the audience members and all the fans just be reacting really positively to our skills, our gameplay, everything like that. So it's great to hear.
And you're so welcome, because you guys have literally, I've been bored of the Vacation Alliance. I know people, I don't know if you've heard about them.
Yeah.
They've been a drag on this show. But you guys came and brought that spark back.
That's good.
And like, seriously, even people I didn't was on my rooting for. Look at Adrienne. She is dominating the game.
Oh my God. Adrienne's killing it.
I know. And not to mention the fact that Will has turned into a very polarizing figure, but however, he's been delivering a drama.
Yes, he has. I mean, Will, with what he can bring physically, he can also bring it socially in kind of that entertainment aspect. He can get a little messy. He can get, messy in the house. He can get messy in the bed. He's bringing a lot of, kind of that old style challenger out. And it is definitely a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, yeah. And we got to talk about some of our people that we lost early. I got to say, Ben the Bane Davis. I definitely think it meant a lot to me, because I never would see myself on the challenge. So seeing a podcast host, someone that's been in media, and I got to say this, if he wasn't taken out by Chavez, I think he would have done wonders. And I think that I really want to see him come back.
Absolutely. I feel the same way, man. I really like Ben. You know what I mean? Not only was he an amazing person, he was so much fun to be around. I've said this multiple times, and I'll say it again, is Ben was one of those, he was one of those guys in the house that I just felt so comfortable with. And I felt like no matter what, I could go to him during any time of the day and just kind of shoot the shit with him. Me and him had so many laughs together. We talked a lot, and he just had this underdog fire within him, feeling like he just didn't compare, sometimes physically to, or even really like experience wise to a lot of different people in the house, because he wasn't from a previous show or anything like that. But I think that he did wonderful with the cards that he was dealt. And he's just an absolutely determined person. So I absolutely would love to see him back. And I think that he can do a lot of damage in this game.
I know. And speaking of doing a lot of damage to this game, if Lecca did not leave, I could see Turbo and Lecca really being a dominant force.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, Lex was incredible. I had a ton of respect for Lex. I remember one of the first things that I noticed about her was one, that she was a D1 athlete, which is insane. That's already a very, very intense physical feat to compete in as it is, and it requires a ton of training, time, and sacrifice from the players that compete in those sports. But she also competed on Canada's Ultimate Challenge, and although I haven't seen full seasons of that, I know that it's just incredibly similar to MTV's The Challenge. So I knew her coming into this game. She already had a handle on what she wanted to do. She had a handle on kind of how to go about the game in general. And yeah, she was a beast. I love Lekka. I ain't got nothing but good things to say about her.
And I gotta say a thing, and also a lot of people. I am so. I gotta say this. Oh, I gotta say this. Cindy is doing amazing. She's definitely proved to be Wes's honorary daughter. You know, and with her stuff, I fear, as someone that has been a podcaster and also a Jewish podcaster, I'm so proud that she's representing us, and it makes me so angry when people in our fan base go after her and Aviv. I cannot stand it. I will not tolerate it. And I want to say, Yeremi, thank you so much for backing her up.
I always back Sid up. You know what I'm saying? Sid is she's a great person. I love her. I love her persona on the show. She's so cocky. She's so over the top, but she is just incredibly intelligent, and she has so much reason and logic that backs her beliefs, and she stands up against all odds. And I think that no matter what position that you ever take, if you are well informed and you have such strong values that are tied to the thing that you're advocating for, um, I can always defend that. And she is somebody that I have definitely seen take a lot of flack for a lot of different opinions, a lot of different stances, but I'll stand behind Sydney always.
As 1,000% with me. And finally, last but not least, we got to talk about Justin. Oh my God, he's turning into to one of the most. I never thought I would see cheer. I had Justin as an underdog like Ben, but I never thought I could see. Never underestimate him. He took out Rogan. He took out
Yes.
Jake. He beat Jake. It's like not Jake, Gabe. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
You good? You good?
He he outlasted Jonathan Potassium.
And
NCT.
that is the thing too. Justin has been like from the get-go, he had kind of been underestimated by a lot of people, and for me to include that as well. I always want to include myself in that because at a certain point in the game, I did underestimate him. Um, and it just really proves that lifelong philosophy of you cannot judge a book by its color, right? Hearing that he came from cheer, I didn't even know what that show was. I just knew that he was a cheerleader, and watching him perform challenge after challenge, week after week, I said this the other day, and I still stand by it. I think Justin is one of the, if not the MVP rookies of this season. He is an insane competitor, and he has shown that every single challenge, elimination, stake or claim, whatever it is that he goes up against, he perseveres and he comes out on top. And his partnership with Nani blossoms, and that just speaks volumes to the communication style that he can have and how he can attribute his strengths to somebody else's and work in a very cohesive team.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know that a lot of people gave them flack about Chavez as well. But the thing is, what I got to say is, if the thing is, I would like to see Justin go up against some of the best members of the LGBT men's group. Frank Sweeney Fox, Shady Shane Landron, Paulie Calafieri. Now, all three of them are known to be loud, known to be manipulative. But I got to warn Justin, if you thought Chavez was rough, those three that I just mentioned are very dangerous.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And I think that, to be honest with you, I think that that worked towards his advantage, especially early into the game, to have such a blatant kind of, knife in the back so early and so public was, I think, something that worked towards Justin's benefit, especially in the longevity of the game, right? In the beginning of the game, he was mad underestimated, went to elimination, proved himself right after getting backstabbed, uh, by Derek. And then for the rest of the game, I mean, he really earned his respect. He's been out of the limelight. Nobody has like severely voted for him. He did have to go through the stake of claim against Gabe, which was a very nerve-wracking experience. I mean, just to put ourselves in that state of mind, it was the very first time that that power or that twist was being used, and he was the victim of that. So to have to go through that the first time and still come out on top, I mean, Justin is a freaking hero, dude.
Absolutely. We got to move away to the rookie class for a little bit because the thing is, we got to talk about why you're here, which is our Veterans Day special. And before we get to that, I want to say thank you so much for your service, for your sacrifice. I really appreciate it. And on behalf of my audience, I appreciate all of what you've gone through.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I always, it's always an interesting thing to hear like the thank you for your service, and I like to always respond with like thank you for your support. There are, there are factions or sections of regions in this country with people who sometimes don't have the same perspective towards service members, and sometimes you go around and that can kind of show. And by any means, it doesn't like it's not going to kill me. When that happens, I understand people have different views, but I always appreciate it when people thank me and show their support for what my service has done and what the troops do, because there's a lot of people who are busting their ass in this country right now to help their families get a better life, to help them get a better life, to help become better people. And it's not easy, but they do it, and it's a very large sacrifice for their life. So I appreciate that, man.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And also, I got to say that the reason why I thought saw Marine, and well, just finished watching Netflix's Boots, which is probably one of the most powerful things I saw about that. And so what I was like, wow, I did not know about this history and about the Marines and like that. But however, the thing is, what you might have experienced on Boots, but boot camp wise, must have been dissimilar or even advanced.
Yeah, I mean, boot camp was very, very intense. I'm not sure exactly how it relates to Boots. I haven't seen that show, but I have heard a lot of things about it. Um, But yeah, boot camp wasn't it's no joke. It's no joke. And it's not and it's not meant to be easy. It's meant to be one of the hardest things you ever do. And it is designed in a way to break the individual down, which it absolutely does. And it breaks you down hard. And you really go through um an existential crisis. You know what I mean? When your back is up and against the wall, and you are day in and day out living through a very hellish experience, a very, very intense and physically and mentally demanding environment that you're living in, that is high stress like every minute of every day. It really does a number on you. But in the middle of that, you are so broken down, and they really harp and they bust it into you that when you're this down, the people that you need to lean on are your brothers and your sisters, the ones that are right here, that are suffering with you. You lean on them and they lean on you, and that's what creates Marines. That's what creates the warrior spirit, and that's what they do. And then by the end, you are one of the hardest versions of yourself that you have ever been, and you are probably one of the most proudest versions of yourself that you've ever viewed of yourself at the end of it. So it is a very it's a very dramatic, but almost like transcending experience for people who go through it.
I think you've done a one. I think for me, believe me, I would not go through that. I will not go through that, but I'm very proud of you of what you've gone through.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it.
All right. So, as you've had that Marine experience, and what were some of the lessons that you learned from that time that helped you grow as a person?
Wow. There's a lot, man. There's a lot. I mean, one of the biggest ones was being able to endure hardship. The Marines is full of it. Like, about 80% of your life while you're living in the Marines has some sort of, if it's not physical, or it's mental hardship that you are going to go through. And being trained as a Marine to endure those things and still be able to focus on, back then it was a mission, right? Or an objective. being able to block everything out and still focus on the task at hand is extremely important. And that's something that has helped me tremendously after. Um, but another one was probably like self-reliance. And I think this was a big one for me. And I think it's a large one for a lot of other Marines who ended up separating from the Marine Corps is you kind of get to a certain point where you realize in the middle of the Marine Corps, you're a cog in the machine and you're extremely valuable. You're extremely valuable, right? Because at that point in your career, you're right in the middle, right? You got like 2 years left. You have just in 2 years of training, you're a workhorse, you're moving up the ranks. Like your job is to be great, right? Be great at PT, be great at your job, know a lot of things, like become a leader, do all of these things, right? And you're extremely valuable. But towards the end, especially if you decide that your path in life isn't going to stay in the Marines, a lot of Marines like myself and others have experienced that once you kind of make that shift and you decide that you're like, okay, the Marines isn't going to be my life, there is somewhat of a change that happens where the Marine Corps doesn't actually support you as much as you felt like they might have. It's just, it's mainly because you're not doing what they need you to do, right? They're trying to fill numbers, they're trying to fill spots. They need you, right? You're a piece and they need you to fit in where they need you to fit in. But once you decide that you need to go against that because you have different things that you want in life, it starts to become very difficult and you learn really fast that you have to take care of yourself because now nobody's going to help take care of you.
And that's important to no matter what happens. And like, especially no matter if you're working in Marines or working government job or working at any, or even on a reality TV show or something like that.
Yep.
It's you gotta be you gotta focus on you.
You do, and there's an entire element of that, and it's important, especially as it relates to reality TV shows, or even the challenge in general. Is it's very easy to get caught up in the cog of the machine. Oh, I'm part of this group, or I'm part of this alliance. I am protected by this huge thing, but it's very easy to get lost in that comfortability and to lose sight of yourself, you know what I mean, like lose sight of that self-reliance that you need to have in forward thinking, like, oh, where do I actually stand in this alliance, like how many friends do I actually have, and as this dwindles down, am I in a good position? And if you're not really forward thinking like that, it can definitely bite you in the ass.
I know. We'll get back to it, but I wanted to conclude our Marine conversation and say, like, when you got out of, when you were discharged, what did you have in the halfway moment between building your life back and leaving the Marines? Were there any things that were like, did you like say, okay, I really wish I made that, I think I made the wrong decision, or were you comfortable with your guts?
No, man, I'm telling you, like, I went through an experience where just about like the last 6 to 8 months in the Marine Corps, I had that harsh reality check where I was like, wow, the Marine Corps is, they don't want to support me in what I want to do. My unit, they don't care to support me in what I want to do. They don't want to help me go to college. They don't want to help me do this. And it's all on me. And I kind of grew a chip on my shoulder where I was like, damn, like you guys really don't care about me. And you guys don't really, you know, you really don't want to support me in this next chapter of my life because it doesn't kind of like fit your needs. And because of that, it really lit a fire under me. And I was like, you know what? If you don't support me and you don't believe me, I have to believe in myself. And I'm the only one who's going to do it. So I did all my, I made sure I got into college on my own. I did all my transfer credits. I got in there. I found my apartment. I moved myself completely. And there wasn't really a time during that where I was like, oh, I made the wrong decision. It was always kind of like, oh, I am free to prove all of y'all wrong. Like I can do this because there's a huge kind of like culture in there at the end, especially where they do a lot of propaganda towards you, where they're like, oh, if you get out, like 80% of Marines who get out are homeless within the first 5 years. Like 90% of Marines who go to college drop out within the first year, and stuff like that. And I was like, that's insane that you're telling me these statistics right now when I'm telling you what like my dream is and what my next steps are. And after going through kind of that, I was like, nah, bro, I'm going to get this and I'm going to do it exactly how I told you I was going to do it.
And you prove them wrong. And that's the thing.
Yes,
They can never take away your service or your record, but you prove them wrong.
Yep, I did. I did exactly that. And that's why, um, I'll forever be grateful for my mindset. I'll be grateful for my grit, for my tenacity, and for my ambition, man. Once I choose something that I want to do, like I will go and do it. Like I will make the action to execute the plan and accomplish if it's a goal or if it's a dream. Like I will figure out how to do it. And that was a pivotal moment in my life after my service. Where I had just finished being like 18, 19, 20, and it was me entering the world as a young man, and I was still able to do it. So
Well, I'm proud of you, and you would not be, and if you would not be here, we would have a different conversation. But I'm happy that you're here, and I'm glad you stuck with your guts.
thank you, man. I appreciate it, dude.
All right, so let's get to the amazing race, shall we? So many of my audience know you from your time competing with your brother Liam on 35. So why did you decide it was time for you guys to race around the world?
So that story's kind of interesting. I remember when the casting producer came around asking me. They originally asked me to cast for Big Brother. That was the original
What?
show. Yep, that
You
was
were
the
going to be
original
on
show
Big
that
Brother.
that was my very first experience with reality TV, was essentially getting recruited to cast for Big Brother. So I had never seen Big Brother before. I casted for it. It didn't go anywhere. I didn't cast for it or anything like that. And then about a year later, they came back for The Amazing Race, and they were like, this seems like it's way more up your alley. Like you're a huge adventure guy. You'll love experiences. You'll love adrenaline. Like this show is very much tailored to that kind of style. And I was like, looks that way. Sounds wonderful. I love that. So at that time and place, I was trying to find a partner that I had like a good cohesion, right, and a good like dynamic with. And at that time and place, me and Liam weren't in a very good situation relationship wise. We weren't talking a ton. Um, but me and Liam's dynamic was always amazing, right? He was very charismatic. It always was full of energy. And even if we didn't have the best relationship, we could kind of like switch that off and still have this brotherly banter that we have. So I was like, I just reached out to him. I was like, hey, would you be interested in casting for this show with me? It's something that I'm willing, I'd really like to try. And if you're open to it, I'd love for you to be my partner. And he was like, yeah, dude, I'm down. And we got into the casting process.
And that's amazing. First of all, Big Brother's loss was the challenge gain. I can tell you that much ahead of time because I did not watch after all. I watched Big Brother from season 16 all the way to the first All-Star season, the second All-Star season, and said adios because it was a little too toxic for me.
Okay.
But I got to say this. You and Liam were in the back of the pack throughout your run. And in your opinion, what were the factors that made you two near the bottom of the pack and eventually Phil had to say, I'm sorry, the race is done?
Yeah, dude, like that's such a big question that I asked myself once we got out for the race, because we really we really tried to train for it. We really tried to prepare ourselves for it. I mean, our communication throughout the entire show was really, really good. We were communicating very well. We were making decisions, taking account into both of our ideas. We were incredibly supportive of each other and encouraging. But I think that one thing that we lacked was the strategy of decision making. And in The Amazing Race, that is imperative, because it's not just, I mean, there's so many elements that come into deciding whether you want to do who does a detour, who does a roadblock, and you're not exactly sure which one's going to be the best, especially when it comes to a detour. It tells you both of the tasks and you get to choose, but you obviously don't know everything that takes into that. But one of the things that we could have absolutely done better was try to analyze the different detours that we were doing, because you know, in the end, I think we chose the wrong detour that took way too much time. It was delivering flowers. And if we had chosen the other one, there would have been a chance that maybe we weren't last. So that's what I like to say.
Awesome, awesome. So now we got to go back to our friends over the challenge. So, why did you decide that season 41, Vets versus New Threats, was the perfect season for you to jump on board?
Well, you know, man, like after the Amazing Race, I decided to finish out my college career. I had about 1 year left, 2 semesters, and I went ahead and I finished it up, and then I prioritized like a life of travel. That is always been kind of my biggest goal in life. I always wanted to be like a world explorer. I want to explore all the continents, different cultures, people, landmarks, history. It's just my passion in life. So I started doing that, and I was never really sure if reality TV was going to come back again. But after The Amazing Race was done, um, I remember having an interview for another Veterans Day special, probably the year after I competed on The Amazing Race, and our host was TJ, which
Really?
was it was TJ, and it was me and two other Marines, one from Survivor, one from Big Brother. I don't remember their names exactly, but um, one of the questions that TJ asked us as he was wrapping up the interview was, "What are some other shows that you would want to be on?" And I told him, I got to tell him to his face on that interview. I was like, "Man, the challenge is 10 out of 10. A show that I absolutely would love to do. It's amazing. I feel like I would do really good at it, and it's just an incredible show. And it kind of became like my dream show. And and then after that interview, man, I don't even know, like maybe a year and a half passed, and then yeah, a producer from the challenge reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to if I'd be interested in casting for season 41, and I was, oh man, I was blown away. I was blown
I
away.
got
I was Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm telling you, I was so surprised. I was so surprised, and I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it's happening. Like this is the show that I would want to be on over all shows." And the fact that they came, you know, asking me to potentially be a part in it was incredible for me.
I gotta say this. Like it, I to hear this is just amazing, and then have a full circle moment when you face off
Yeah.
with TJ when you first arrive, and with the vets in the background. So, what was it like reuniting with TJ again and having the vets in the background?
That was an extremely intimidating moment, Jacob. I'm gonna be so real with you. Like, we didn't know anything going into that interview except for like to come up with like 3 words that we had to say, right? Um and that was the only thing we knew. And we just heard that TJ was gonna ask us questions, and that was it, right? And I walked in to that like interrogation room, the single light, and you know, the dark room, and TJ was sitting on the other side of the table. And you know, you always see him, he looks so nice, and he really is nice, but in that moment he was pretty stern, right? He was very much an interrogator personality. Um, and I was sitting down and just seeing him face to face. First of all, that was surreal, right? I mean, I've watched seasons of this show and seen him again. I got interviewed by him, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. You know what I mean? But I actually had no idea. I had no idea that all the other vets were sitting behind him. To be honest with you, it was really dark in there, and when I saw that if there was people there, I kind of just thought that they were like producers. I had no idea. So I didn't have an idea that there were vets up there at all. So when I was just speaking to TJ, I was just like, I was trying to do my best to articulate my sentences well, and make the best impression of who I am authentically, what I bring to the table, as well as I always wanted to have a sense of vulnerability in my response. I felt like a lot of other competitors were just going to kind of like hype their self up like all strengths. And I wanted to like choose some strengths, but I also wanted to choose a weakness. And I wanted to show people, like, I wanted to let them inside me a little bit and let them know, like, hey, I do a lot of shit, and I come from a background that can be very intimidating, but I am still scared. And the word that I used at that interview was fearful, and I was like, I am fearful. Like, I'm scared to be here. This is a scary and fear-inducing experience that I'm able to take, but that emotion is still very raw to me, and it is very real.
I gotta say that you were absolutely amazing. The two that I remember the most I know that's a blur and everything, but
Mhm.
you and Cedric came out with guns a-blazing. I never thought when I saw Cedric shaking TJ's hand, I was like, wow, we're in for it. And when I saw you, I'm like, okay, this guy's cool.
Yeah, dude. Cedric was badass, man. He's the real deal for sure, man. He's not only is he an incredibly kind and a really really positive person, but he's an absolute dog in the competition. I mean, you know what I mean. Physically, he checks all boxes, right? He's insanely meticulous, a very very good strategist, and he is wicked smart.
I'm gonna make a prediction. You two will be the last male new threat standing.
That is an interesting prediction, Jacob. I am curious to see how it plays out.
Alrighty, and if I make that prediction, will you come back?
Of course, I will come back anytime you invite me, Jacob. I would always love to come back and chat with you, man.
Alrighty. So you heard it here first, guys. So after the show, Yeremi's coming back. So
Yeah, I'll be
fingers
back.
crossed, we'll talk about the latter half of the game. But
Let's
however, we
go.
got to say this. There are only a couple people that make it a strong first impression on me. My dear friend Josh Mooney, who's one of my all-time favorite Era 4 guys, made his impression on the show known when he raced up the Rock of Gibraltar on Vendettas. You, my friend, joined him in that when you first raced down the mountain and made it to the house first.
Yeah, dude, that was that was intense, bro. That was intense, and it was a crazy moment for me, and it's really funny because I get a lot of like, I've heard a lot of people's opinions on it. Is like, oh, like why would you do that? Or you're asking for a target to be painted on your back, for you to perform that way. But to be honest with you, man, I didn't have a single thought in my head about like, oh, maybe, sorry, maybe I should dial my skill, like maybe I should dial myself back. Right. That wasn't my intention. And I never had, and I never do have that in a competitive environment. But when I was running up that hill, Jacob, I was in the beginning of the pack, and that was in the very, very beginning. And I ended up taking the wrong turn on to a wrong trailhead. Yeah, this is
Really?
something they didn't show. This is something that not a lot of people know. But me and Justin were leading the pack. We both went off trail we essentially cut into a different trail, and we ran on that one for a couple minutes before we were like, oh wait, nobody else is behind us. I think that we're going the wrong way. We quickly went back up to the main trail, and we saw all of the rest of the competitors like running in a huge line, like as some of them were almost like little ants in the distance as they're running up this huge mountain. And I was just like, oh my God, in my head, I was just beating myself up, and I was like, you just took the wrong freaking turn, and you were first. And now you're in the very back. Like, you better figure out how to fix this. And I just turned on my burners, dude. And honestly, I was just at that point, I was just like, empty the tank. And I emptied the tank, and I ran through everyone all the way up that mountain. I remember the person who was in first for the men was Rogan. And
Really?
it was Rogan. And I remember seeing him, and he got to this certain incline where it stopped his run, and he had to go into a walk. And in my head, I saw him. I was like, okay, run past Rogan and just run as long as you possibly can until it pushes you into a hike. And once it pushes you into a hike, just continue to hike. And that's exactly what I did. And I just went up that mountain, like y'all saw.
And you beat some of the biggest names on the men's side. You beat the biggest names: Jonathan Potassium, CT, Derek K, Turbo, icons of the game, and you smoked all of them.
Yeah, no, dude, I'm telling you, I was just like, I don't know, like it was like during it, I wasn't thinking about any of that, right? During it, honestly, I was kind of like especially when I was coming down the mountain. When I was coming down the mountain, I mean, I was seeing people just like I saw a couple of people like sitting, and I was like, "What are you doing sitting down?" I was like, "This is the challenge, no?" I was like, "Do you know where you're at? Do you know what this game does? Do you know what you go through here and you're sitting down?" I don't know about all that.
Can you name him? Can you name him or?
Yeah, I mean, like I think CT sat down at one point. Leo was sitting down at one point. Um, I think Naya was also sitting down at one point, but I mean, people were just absolutely like just it almost felt like they were dropping like flies, like they were hurting so bad. And that was so great for me because the things that I choose to pursue in life are full of suffering. They always are. Everything that I do has some little element of suffering in it because I truly believe that the best things that you can do in life and some of the best experiences that you can ever have are on the other side of suffering. And so when I was up there just getting it done, like you just beating yourself down, um, I felt like I was in my element, but I really showed to me that this is not the lifestyle that some people do live on the outside like I do. Like I live this on the outside and then coming here, it was just doing it for competition, right? Some of these people don't live that kind of life on the outside and they come here and are put into this kind of competition. And it really, really showed on that mountain.
I got to say that was insane. I still have the still can get out the image of potassium and turbo skipping to house. I cannot get that image out of my head.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's, it was crazy. And again, like, some of them might have had different, different, ideas for how they wanted to perform on that one, how much they cared to perform well on that, or whatever. Or at least some of them might say that. In my opinion, most people tried somewhat their best and they came where they came, right? And I don't think that there's any shame in admitting that you can't sprint up a mountain because that's not something that everybody can do. It's very difficult. But I also think that there's an accountability factor in trying not to make excuses like, oh, well, I didn't come in fifth. I could have came in fifth, but I didn't come in fifth because, that was a bad strategy for my game, right? I think that's a little bit of a cop out for some people if they're deciding to take that route of it. But for me, it was, and I've got a lot of flack for that. They're like, oh, you came in first by like a fucking mile. And that painted a huge target on your back. And I'm over here like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm made of. And if you want it, you can come and get it.
And you did, my friend. You did. I want to talk about something that happened in the middle, in the halfway point, before the halfway point, before all the teams were selected, because you
Yep.
and Sydney were together. You won Cyclone, so it sent in Chavez and was sent
Mhm.
home. And against CT, I'm a little. The reason why I want to ask you is because I know this was a theme about Lecca, justice for
Mhm.
Lecca, about that. But the thing that I'm concerned with, I was a little confused by, is how did sending Chavez home was equivalent to justice for Lecca? Because I'm honest,
Perfect.
I was a little confused by that.
I totally understand. And I'm super glad that you asked that question so we can kind of clear it up, right? Because there was a huge misconception, um, especially during that episode and that time period in the game, in which I think that people somewhat misconstrued um, maybe the purpose of Justice for Lecca, right? And I can clear that up for you right now. Is getting Chavez into elimination didn't have to do with Justice for Lecca. That
It's
had to
justice for
do
Justin.
it was justice. To be honest, it was justice for Yeremi, right?
Yep.
You know who had the power that day? Yeremi. Who was the last competitor to take a shot at me directly, right? Regardless of how respectful he was about it, he was like, you're one of the best players in this game. If I lose, I lose to a great. If I win, I get you out of this game. And I'm over here like, yeah, well, I respect it, but at the end of the day, you're putting my fucking game in jeopardy, right? My alliance pulled through, and it didn't happen that I went in there. And he came out of that alive. But at this point of the game, when I had the power, I had the option to getting Derek Chavez out. I mean, Derek Chavez was a finalist in 40. Let's be real. He's an incredibly well-rounded competitor. And it was the perfect opportunity to get one, a really well-rounded player like Derek Chavez out, or potentially CT. Now, where Justice for Leka ties in is it was a movement, and it was a movement that worked, right? It was a movement in which a lot of people in the house could get behind, and they were like, you know what? Fuck yeah, Justice for Leka. We got to get CT out. Doesn't mean we have to get him out now. The main purpose of Justice for Leka movement was to stir distaste for CT in the house so that that distaste had longevity, which it did. If we created the distaste, which we did, we have ample ammunition to put him into elimination whenever. He's an easy name. You know why? Why should we put CT in Justice for Leka? 2 weeks down the road. That's why he asked me after the elimination with Derek. He was like, do you think that I've done enough to get away from Justice for Leka? And I don't know if you remember how I responded. I was like, no, I don't. And I said that for an honest reason. And that reason was like, absolutely not, because the distaste for you isn't going to go away until you leave. Therefore, we don't need you to leave right now.
Now, I want to bring in two names that have both ties to both Chavez and to CT. Now, both of them, even though Carr was gone, but hypothetically, if she's still there, that's her number one. Do you risk pissing off one of the greats? And number two, I bet Jonna was pissed off as well with you guys.
Well, like John A and both Cara Maria. Yeah. At that point in the game, no, we weren't worried about, because we had too many numbers, right? The challenge is a numbers game. When the numbers build up on a certain movement or a certain faction, the likelihood of that being able to work in the future is already solidified, right? So if you're Cara Maria, if you're going to be mad at me, that's okay. But you also have to be mad at the other 10 people who are also Justice for Leka. So you're going to have to spread out that kind of anger, right? Which is something that I don't really like. I wasn't super concerned about. Jonna had just come in the game, and she was kind of struggling to get her feet in the game too. So to be honest, we weren't taking her like incredibly serious. Although I know that sounds like, kind of shitty to say, but I'm going to be super real with you. You know what I mean? When she came in, it was difficult for her to come in because there were so many solid blocks of people already together, and she was kind of just trying to fill in like the lowest rank of whatever side she could be in. So I wasn't super worried in who I was pissing off.
I know. I just wanted to say it might have been very interesting hypothetically, both because both going after CT and Cara would have been a dynamite. If they're paired off, it's game over to almost everybody. And also Jonna and Derek Chavez are ride or dies. So, and not to mention a two-time champion and a finalist together.
Yeah.
So those two, I think do you think you might face off with them if you have 42 and all four of them are there? You might have some problems.
No, absolutely. Right. Absolutely. And that's the thing about playing this game, is that you just can't appease everybody. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where I think your best option is to be an authentic human being. Right. And that's what I've tried to do. Right. And my opinions about certain people in the game, and my opinions as certain people are completely different. And I'm mature enough to make a separation between your gameplay and your personality and your characteristics as a human being. And if we go into a future season or anything like that, and I hypothetically see any of these people again, and they want to hold that old gameplay against me, then there's not much that I can do to stop them, except for explaining my perspective purely and vulnerably without any lies to anybody. And that's exactly what I do. That's why I come on these podcasts to talk to you. And that's why I love answering questions, because you ask me and I want to answer to you truthfully. Like, This is where my head's at. This is why I made this decision. It had nothing to do with hating you or wanting you out. It was all strategy, and that's all it is.
And I have to respect you for that answer. I have to respect you for that answer because it's been for 6 years, 7 years. It's like, okay, I have people in my corner, my challenged family. You have my honorary uncles and aunts, the John Brennans, the Cyrus Yargroves, the Mark Longs, the Tina Bartas, the Bester Larks. Of course, you have Wes and Derek and Davis, Mallory, and Brad, and CT, the honorary uncles, and of course, Cara, Maria, and Aviv, the honorary aunts, of course. And you guys are like you are like an honorary younger brother to me. Honorary challenged younger brother, and I can say that. So, but like the thing is, it's like with that whole family weave, it's like, okay, it's hard to defend. Like I defend my guys, my friends, Jay, Joss, Ed, Paulie. I admit I take a lot of heat for my decisions for the people I back. But I built years of friendships with those guys.
Yeah, and I totally understand that, and that is something that that is one of the best things about this show, and it's something that I love so much about this show is the fan base that is created, right? I've gotten I mean, especially in this season alone, when me and freaking CT we're sharing a bunch of shit thrown at each other during when the Justice for CT or Justice for Lecca thing was going around. I was taking mad hate, right? And the I don't know, the pessimistic side of me could have been like, oh, fuck you guys, in the comments fighting, but I chose to look at it as these are such amazing fans that are willing to go to battle for people that I have love for in my heart. Even though CT's fans were ripping me at some point, I built a beautiful friendship with CT, and I truly love him, and I think he's an amazing person. I think he's an amazing man, and he's got one of the best legacies in reality TV to date across anything, right? And I love him so much, and I'm so happy he has an army behind him, ready to fight for him at a beck and call. So I don't ever take nothing serious from anybody because I know it's coming from a place of love for somebody else that I have some respect or love for.
All righty. So one final game move I want to talk to you about is that you and Aviv are almost at home and pull it together in an arena game. So what was the strategy that you and Aviv used to overcome Gabe and Jonna?
Okay. The strategy that we employed to overcome Jonna and Gabe during that elimination was that Aviv was going to do the rope ladder. She was going to get up there and she was just going to unplug them as fast as she could. And one of the rules of that game is that with the climbing wall, any of the pegs that didn't require you to get up on the wall could be put in multiples, right? So you can have one in each hand and you can start plugging them in like that, right? So my strategy was to immediately start filling them all the way up left to right. I didn't want to fill them up completely randomly and maybe forget one or because if you fill them up randomly and you don't have a meticulous order in what you're doing, then you might miss a spot or overlook something, and then you have to spend time later in the elimination searching for where that hole is and then plug it, right? So my first thing was Aviv's job was climb and just drop. I don't care where you drop them, just drop them somewhere in this area, just drop them as fast as you can. And I'm just going to start working. I worked left to right in rows. And then once I had to get up off the ground onto the wall, I just took one pull. I kept it in my left hand. I used these 2 fingers for climbing and then these 3 for holding it. And then I did the same thing. I worked left to right, but a difference that I think was between me and Gabe is that because I do bouldering in my, I don't know if you know, indoor rock climbing. I do it a lot
Oh, yeah.
I do it a lot in my personal life, and it's about route building, right? If you have a hard route that you're doing, you do it 10 times, but you have to do the same route. You do the same route, and that's exactly what I decided to use in that elimination is using the same route because it was a route that I knew where my feet and my hands were going to go, and it helped me climb up the wall a lot faster than just taking a random route, getting in between certain poles or like that. And it really spearheaded my ability to go up and down. And then another strategy that I employed was when I had finished putting one of the pegs in the wall, I pushed off in a way that as I was falling, I pushed to try to land where my feet would land right next to one so I could grab it, come up, and just race right back up the wall. So I was using the descend as a strategy as well.
Awesome, awesome. That concludes our game talk, guys. When Yeremi comes back, we'll talk more about it, and we'll talk more about, however, there are two things I want to talk to you about, because I have an interesting idea I want to input into the game, and I want to hear your idea,
Okay.
your take on it. So I have been covering America's Got Talent, and I've been a lifelong fan of the show since 2006 and covering it since 2012. So there's a future twist I want to add called the Platinum Skull, which is akin to that show's Golden Buzzer, which if a judge or a host presses an act for an act, they go directly to the live semi-quarterfinals or live finale. So mine is this. After 3 elimination wins, 4 people, 2 men or 2 women, or 2 teams, they win those 3 straight immunity wins. They are immune from eliminations. They get an automatic spot in TJ's final and a cash prize from a financial sponsor. So what do you think of that idea?
That's a really interesting idea that you have, this golden buzzer and this kind of ticket. And you know what? I kind of like it. I mean, it comes with a lot of risk. I mean, are you kind of saying that there's 2 routes to the final now? You can have a route through strategically playing, winning and not losing daily challenges, and having a strong political game to keep you out of elimination, and that is a route to the final. But another route is winning 3 eliminations in total and then getting like a golden buzzer, golden skull or something to
Platinum
get
Skull.
that ticket. I kind of like that because the idea is to earn your way into the final. And to be honest, it's funny when people say to earn your way in the final. I think literally just competing your way to that place is earning it in its own right.
Mhm.
Because it's
And
not easy to do. But I think that's a really cool power and a cool twist of the show that I think would be really dope.
so the reason why I came up with that is because I saw Cara Maria getting sent in time and time again in All Stars 4. I saw Corey and Jenny and Rachel getting in for All Stars during Battle of the Eras. And then Adam and Steve, and then, of course, Theo and Adrian now with number 4. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I would love to see the reaction if TJ they press the buzzer and there's fireworks go all the place, a banner at the Adrian and Theo comes up, drop off. Then they have a huge party. Libby might be coming running down screaming in joy. Theo and Adrian do a lot of middle fingers. Like, I think that's would really be a good viral moment.
I think it would. I think it would. I think that's it. I think that's really cool. I think that would be a very interesting twist. I think it would add a very different dynamic to this game in what people decide, what strategy they want. Because some people are pushed naturally into elimination so many times, based either off of their political affiliations or just their personality in general. And sometimes it feels like you're just not going to get out of that. And that could change your entire strategy of the game and being like, well, if I'm never going to get out of this, then I'm going to use it to my benefit and help me get to the final through the riskiest thing possible, which is elimination.
Yeah, and I gotta say this. I shared that question during Challenge Mania. Darrell and Wes shut me down.
Mm,
And then Scott and Mark shut me down during the 375th episode. And
okay.
spoilers, you might have 2 people rooting for that when my first episode of season 7, my 15th anniversary, comes out. But Yermi, I know we have to start writing down part 1 of our conversation. So where can my audience connect with you on social media?
Nice. Your audience can connect with me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm not insanely active on Facebook. My main platform is Instagram. I'm not like the world's best. I'm not an influencer by any means on Instagram, but it is the place that I kind of do I scrapbook my life. I like to put travel videos together, things that I'm doing, things that I'm working on, and different organizations, competitions that I care about and that I advocate for. So if any of you guys want to watch me, you guys want to follow me, you absolutely can do that on Instagram. My name is Yeremi.Hykel, and you can find me there.
Alrighty, guys, if you missed an episode of the Jake Steak with Jacob Elyachar podcast, visit our channels on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Spreaker. Jake Steak with Jacob Elyachar, JACOB ELYACHAR. Now, are you on social media? I'm on social media too. Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOB ELYACHAR. To see all of my challenge content, including interviews with Jay, Joss, Paulie, Jenny West, John and Beth, and Mark Long, head to the blog that started it all, jakes.shake.com. And I want to say this. I want to say thank you so much to the Stevie Awards for awarding me a 2025 American Business Award for Silver Stevie for Best Interview Talk Show. I really appreciate it. Yeremi, this was an amazing part one. I cannot wait for our part two. And thank you so much for all the service that you've done. And to all of the service members, men and women, past and present, thank you so much for your sacrifice. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jacob. This has been an absolute blast, bro. It's an honor to talk to you. It's an honor to be on your podcast, dude. I love what you do. I love your theories, and I love how you dissect this game. And I think it's amazing. I would love to come back anytime, man. Thank you.
You're so welcome, Yeremi. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, have a great one. Good.